Hi, I'm Tess Ellenwood here on behalf of the Smocking Arts Guild of America to demonstrate the stacked cable stitch. It's the stitch most commonly used in picture smocking. Today I'll be using a number 7 darner. A lot of people like to use a number 5 darner or even a chenille needle because they all have a long eye. It helps keep the thread spread out during the stitching, and that's what you want. A needle with a round eye, like a straw needle or a Milner, tend to clump the threads together, and they don't look as nice. I'm going to use 6-strand embroidery floss. You don't have to. You can use a lot of other different threads, but it's the most common. I usually use 4 threads. A lot of people use 5 threads or 6 threads or 3 threads. It doesn't matter. It's whatever you want to do to achieve the effect you want. But you probably will need some thread prep. I like to use what they call strip and squeak. You separate each strand and hold it between a moistened felt, and if you pull it through right, you'll hear a squeak. It helps the threads lay straight and cover better without clumping together. I'll be stitching on Kona cotton. It's a common quilting fabric, and it has a little more body than some of the lighter weight fabrics, so my stitches will be nice and plump. That's not to say that you can't do stacked cables on a lightweight fabric. It's just more difficult. The first thing I need to do is come up between 2 pleats. Draw the thread through. Now I'm going to back stitch through the first pleat to the left. I'm keeping my needle parallel to the pleating rows. Now I'm going to bring the thread around and loop it over my needle and go through the stitch to the right. I just made an up cable. It's an up cable because I put the thread over the needle. Now it's coming out the bottom, and I'm ready to go make a down cable. I'm holding the thread down below the needle. I'll move over 1 pleat. I'm keeping my needle parallel. I push it into place. And you just continue alternating up cables with the thread looped above and down cables with it looped below. Now, if you're familiar with geometric smocking, you'll notice that you probably have done a cable stitch before. What's different in picture smocking or stacked cables is that you're taking a lot more of the pleat. I'm not taking just the top third. I'm going down at least a half a cable down into the fabric. So the fabric is actually encased with the thread. That way it doesn't peek out. You can push your cables together as you go and keep them nice and straight. Okay, so I've done an up, down, up, down, up, down, up. All right, now I'm going to turn my work. I'm going to take the thread to the back between the pleats. I'm going to turn my work over. And I'm going to start a new row. Once again, I'm going between, coming up in the valley of the two pleats. And I'm going to make the next row about a needle width below the last one. It looks like there might be a space, a gap in the thread, but the thread will spread out a bit. You can see how the first stitch kisses the bottom of the last row. Each row is a mirror image of the last. You can use your needle to help move the thread into the correct position. So when you try stacked cables, if you notice that there is fabric peeking out between your stitches, there are a few common errors that are really easy to fix. Spacing is something that comes with practice. And a lot of people sometimes pull the stitches too tightly. If you smock too tightly, you're going to pull the pleats together and it's going to make the pleats warp and they'll peek out. Your goal is to have no fabric showing between your pleats, between your cable stitches. It's always easier to work from a wide area to a narrow area because you have stitches to guide upon. So in a triangle, you would want to start at the base. You see here that I've used two different colors. It looks like one cable row is actually two rows because there's a row of bottom pleats, of bottom cables in the green, a row of top cables in the green. This is actually just one row. Down cable, down, up. And when you turn, then you can have the next row, which is shown in yellow. This is what a chart for picture smocking looks like. You always know where the next one goes if you have a place to put it so they can kiss each other. So these are different shapes. If you have a round shape, you wouldn't start at the bottom and work to the other end. You would start in the middle and work down, and start in the middle and work up. That way you're always working to a narrower edge. Here's a square, and you can see gaps on the sides. Once you have your spacing down and you have a little practice, you can start adding half stitches in to take care of those gaps on the sides. That's a little more advanced. You simply put the thread over one pleat instead of two pleats. I have a couple examples of picture smocking or stacked cables. This one actually is stitched not with regular embroidery floss, but with ribbon floss. That's why it has the sheen. It's actually a rayon ribbon. So it smocks up very quickly. And you don't have to worry about keeping the threads separated because it's one flat piece. You might want to try multiple colors. It's a little trickier, but it's definitely fun, and the kids love the pictures. But even with simple shapes, beginners can still come up with really fun projects, like the simple triangles to make a pumpkin or a sailboat. And if you get really confident, you can move on to something that's shaded with lots of different colors, lots of half spaces, and a more realistic picture. Hope you enjoyed the video. Happy stitching!